Alright, so the Fun Pimps have just revealed what's going to be in the 2.5 Survival Revival update. They have changed the name from the Community Goodwill update, it seems. They haven't given us an exact release date, by the way, just off the top of this video, but they have said that it'll be out soon, and it focuses on community feedback and the return of long-awaited features, and the stable update for all platforms will be out before the holidays. So that means, presumably before December 25th, everybody's going to have access to this update. I imagine we're going to have the experimental release very, very soon. Either at the end of this week or at the start of next week would be my guess, but I have no further information than you do on that topic. Just basing it off of how past updates have gone, this is what I would expect. But it could well drop today, for all we know. So the short version of the new changes coming is that there's going to be improved water survival with empty jars returning, new vehicle storage improvements and mods, 2 new models for the Rancher and the Chuck zombie, which are replacing this Plague Spitter and the Frostclaw. There's the new returning smell feature, distant storm rendering, updated biome hazard storms, temperature and protective clothing, a new apiary which produces honey, new honey inspired recipes, a third-person camera, turret ammo improvements, which is actually a weird fun little update that we'll get to in a second, quest improvements, new character window rendering, a new skin, and a new Trader Gen model. Now, I've seen a lot of speculation about the Trader Gen model and what that's going to be and how they're going to change it. I would put money on it being this. That's all the new Trader Gen model's going to be. She's going to have slightly darker skin, a more HD face, and a slightly different outfit, but I imagine she's exactly the same, basically, just higher definition. I wouldn't expect anything crazy there. And there's a warning to players before upgrading to 2.5, which is that with changes coming to workstation progression, if a player's in the middle of crafting a workbench, the update may remove that recipe unlock and clear your crafting queue, which will not return the crafting ingredients. And they have changed the controller input, so if you're on console when this update comes out, you'll need to reset all your keybind, well, not your keybinds, your button mapping. So let's read the in-depth survival release notes. First thing, of course, is the improved water survival empty jars. They say, "We know this is a topic of great interest to the community and we've taken extra care to listen and read hundreds of posts and polls. What stood out the most is that people like the old empty jar system for the immersive feeling of rummaging through loot. Find an empty jar, locating a water source, filling the jar and boiling it to drink it safely. With that in mind, we have combined the best of the old and new systems and made it balanced. Here's how it works. In the early game, you can scavenge for jars and fill them with murky water from natural lakes, rivers and ditches, or from other man-made bodies of water. Murky water is boiled for use as normal. Toilets, sinks and other water fixtures are all dried up. Early to mid-game, you can choose to craft dew collectors or continue to only use jars that you find. To balance gameplay, jars are a one-time use, not refunded and are not craftable. The dew collector unlocks at workstations crafting level 16 and is now crafted on the workbench, and additional resources are required for crafting. They don't say what. Murky water and other drinks still have a chance to be found in loot. So I have a lot of comments to make about the jar changes. I'm not going to go in depth on them, but here's the short of it. I have a lot of things to defend about this and I have a lot of criticisms for it. I will say this, I don't think that the people who wanted empty jars are going to be entirely happy with this implementation. They pretty explicitly wanted the old system back. I do though think that this is an improvement over what we currently have. Is it better than what we used to have? That's another question, but I do have some defenses of it and some criticisms. We'll save it for another video because there's more important stuff to talk about right now. Vehicle storage improvements and mods. Each vehicle will now support 1 additional storage column for more storage slots, and that's column, so it means 1 extra slot for the bicycle, 3 for the mini bike, 4 for the motorcycle, 5 for the gyrocopter, and 9 for the 4x4. We're adding vehicle storage mods that increase any vehicle storage capacity by 1 row, which will increase a vehicle's storage capacity by 10 slots. Each vehicle can hold up to 2 vehicle storage mods for an increased storage capacity of 20 additional storage slots. When you install a vehicle storage mod, you will see the vehicle visibly change. For example, you would see new saddlebags on a bicycle when a vehicle storage mod is installed. So that's going to be really interesting, seeing the bicycle have 30 total storage slots if you can get these. Very good. And the 4x4 will have 90 slots by default and will be able to go up to 110. That's pretty damn good. That'll help a lot with the pretty extensive inventory clutter that 7 Days to Die still has, even after the streamlining of all the various loot items you used to be able to get. It does make sense with another feature coming soon, but one of the big things is they're worried about jars cluttering your inventory, but the other thing we'll get to in a second. We have the new Rancher zombie, which is going to be like a cowboy looking type guy. who's more accurate to the game's setting than sort of the Egyptian mummy thing they were going for before, and the Chuck zombies replacing the Frostclaw. Again, the Frostclaw didn't exactly make much sense. It was kind of a weird mutant thing. Now he's just a big dude who throws rocks at you, which is definitely more immersive, I would say. By the way, if you want to keep up with the latest 7 Days to Die news, I would really appreciate you hitting the like button and the subscribe button. Back to the video. So the new smell system has a really lengthy description. Let's go over it. Having 5 or more raw meat in your inventory will create a smell. I want to say, just before we get to this, the new smell system has one of the funniest fucking mechanics I've ever heard of in a video game. I'll get to it in a second. There is a 10-second grace period before the smell begins to smell, giving the player an opportunity to store or package the raw meat. Raw meat smells have a distance in meters they travel, which will be displayed on the left HUD buff pop out with a nose icon, like it used to be. The distance number on the buff HUD will grow over time until it reaches a maximum distance. The more raw meat you're carrying, the longer the smell distance. Once the smell has reached its maximum distance, it will linger in the air for a short time period, represented by a slowly decreasing HUD timer until the smell dissipates and the number decreases at a faster rate. There are several ways you can prevent raw meat from smelling, including packaging the raw meat in bundles of 5 using paper and plant fibers, or storing the raw meat in a vehicle or storage container. Consuming food now also causes a smell, so you need to be careful what you eat. Many consumables now have a smell distance stat. Consuming multiple items in a row will cause a combined smell distance. The flatulence the player makes from dysentery will cause a smell. It's absolutely peak, I'm afraid. Smells combined will have a maximum cumulative distance of 100 meters. Imagine being able to smell a person at 100 meters. That's crazy. Smells do not travel as far when indoors or sheltered and are reduced by 20% of their full distance, and will dynamically shrink when you go inside or outside. Your current smell can be cleared by submerging yourself in water. When smells reach zombies, they will randomly detect the smell, move in that direction, and at the run speed desired, setting in the game options under smell mode, which defaults to run. So this is like super feral scents. Smells will now also add to the stealth meter value. That's gonna be rough. Animal carcasses can now be smelled from farther away, so you may have to defend the carcass from even more zombies. There is a new AI option, smell mode, which can be turned off, walk, jog, run, sprint, and nightmare, but defaults to run. You can disable the player smells by setting it to off. So if you don't like this change, you can completely turn it off, which is always good. As of late, I've been recommending to the devs to just put everything on a menu toggle and let everybody make their perfect game out of it. It seems the best way to get everybody happy. I think this is interesting. I'll be playing with this turned on. If nothing else, this is going to cause more zombies to come towards you, and I like it more than feral sense because it's something I can choose to opt out of in-game by simply not picking up raw meat when I don't want to deal with extra zombies. I prefer that to feral sense, I think. So that's fun. Weird change. It is, especially the farts, but like, I'm fine with it, whatever. It does add a little bit more survival thought to the game. You know, collecting food is now a little bit harder. That's pretty fun. Anyway, we have distant storm rendering. A new system has been added that will render storm clouds in neighboring biomes. The early warning indicator will help players prepare before they enter the area. Each biome has its own unique VFX particle system. That means you can see storms in other biomes now before they happen, so you won't cross over into a biome and be greeted with an instant storm and, you know, have to just turn around basically. Some of the nicest changes in this update are coming up here though. Biome hazards, storms, temperature, and protective clothing. Thank God. The biome hazard, storm, temperature, and protective clothing now all act independently, creating a more dynamic and unpredictable struggle against the elements. Here are the changes and additions. So first we have biome hazards. The biome hazards in progression have been reworked with new belt messages, icons, and item descriptions to reflect a more immersive face covering gear will provide protection against airborne hazards including smoke and ash, sand and dust, brutal cold air, and toxic fallout. And then there's storms. Storms have been reworked to allow a longer grace period based on clothing worn. That's good, because now there's more to storms than just sitting inside for 20 minutes. Without clothing, the player gets 30 seconds to leave the biome or take shelter. Gathering and wearing protective clothing, described below, increases the player's time to leave the biome or find shelter. So there's more strategy to it. That's good. Taking shelter starts the recovery timer and ramps up at 3 times the rate of the grace timer. Rework the storm buff icons to clearly show a difference between biome themes. Small, but okay. Zombies become aggressive and will be more active during storms. So this is actually a feature that I think is already in the game, but they're probably putting it here for the people who never noticed it was added in like 2.3, I think. And zombies have a higher chance of dropping loot during storms. Again, I believe that's already in the game. Temperature, this is a big one for me. because they completely nullified it with the release of 1.0 and the new armor system, and they completely pulled it out with 2.0. So seeing it put back in after 2 years is very good. Added back a more intuitive implementation of the older temperature system. I don't know that the old system was unintuitive. Like, your screen got red or blue if you were cold or hot, and then you just took clothes off or put clothes on or drank certain items, but whatever. Time of day, shelter, shade, and weather conditions and wetness, and other factors play a role in the player's core temperature. Holding a torch, standing by a campfire, or consuming items will boost a player's cold resistance. Gathering and wearing protective clothing described below increases the player's hot resistance and cold resistance, which absorbs the various conditions to offset the player's core temperature. Hot debuffs have 2 levels of severity, hot and sweltering, as was before. Increased water consumption by 300% or 600%, and movement speed reduced by 10% and 20%. It does actually say, I should reiterate, movement types reduced by 10% and 20%. So jumping, I assume, applies here, and indeed swimming, I would imagine, but it's probably very hard to swim and be hot at the same time, but that's, you know, regardless. Cold increases your overtime food consumption by 100% or 200%, and your food consumption to recover stamina by 30 and 60%. So it's going to have a big effect on your food usage, and it decreases your movement types by 10% and 20% as well. So that's pretty good. Like, that's what we used to have basically with a few changes. I'm not sure the specific numbers we used to have because it's been like 2 or 3 years since we had to really worry about it, but more or less this is what we had before. And then we have the protective clothing. There are 4 clothing insulation item groups that can be found and worn to increase the player's hot and cold resistance and protection time against storms, including socks, cap liners, long underwear, and glove liners. Basically, the 4 armor slots we have now have 4 clothing slots to go with them, basically. Wearing all 4 of the highest tier insulated clothing items provides the longest protection time against storms and the best hot and cold resistance against extreme temperatures. I'll be very interested to see if there is specific hot resistant clothes and cold resistant clothes, or if it's kind of just going to be all in one, which would be kind of lame, but I understand why they would do that, again, to reduce the amount of faffing around in inventory. Clothing has quality but no degradation, so you can just keep looting to get better gear. Probably for the best because it's not armor, so it shouldn't be degraded by armor actions, basically, for gameplay reasons. We've added 3 levels of progressive armor insulation mods as well to augment your hot and cold resistance even further, which we've actually had already, but we haven't had a way to craft them. They've just been sat in the menus uncraftable. That's really good. I'm glad temperature is back, because for 2 years the only survival mechanic we've had is the food and water bar, and we've had vending machines which completely negate it entirely. And in my opinion, this game hasn't really been a survival game properly in at least 2 years, possibly longer. So this is all very good. We have a new apiary workstation. We've added a new apiary workstation to the game which will allow the player to produce honey, and here's how it works. If you don't know, by the way, an apiary is a beehive that is made by a human. Apiary workstation crafting is unlocked at tier 3 workstations level 30. Once unlocked, the player can craft the apiary workstation recipe by gathering the following ingredients: 100 wood, 50 nails, 10 forged iron, 8 duct tape, and 5 beeswax, which can be harvested in tree stumps or found in loot drops from the new Rancher Zombie. Formerly? I think they mean formerly the Plague Spitter. Or maybe they do mean formerly. Maybe it's still called the Plague Spitter. Who knows? Once the player crafts the apiary workstation, it needs to be fueled by 10 flowers, basically chrysanthemum, goldenrod, and cotton. That's good because it encourages more farming of those crops. The apiary workstation will output 1 honey every 2 game days, which is kind of shit, but we'll get to that being fine in a second. Here's a definitely interesting decision. I don't know if I agree with it because it's kind of like, oh, there's a random chance to say fuck you, which I just never really like. But opening the apiary has a small chance of spawning an angry bee swarm. Why? That's such an annoying thing to have. But regardless, the apiary workstations can be upgraded with 3 tool slot mods, including Apiary Smoker, which removes the chance to spawn an angry bee swarm. Okay. The Brood Box, which doubles how much honey can be stored. They didn't actually tell us how much can be stored, so we don't know how good that is yet. And the Apiary Extractor, which doubles how fast honey is produced, so you get 1 a day, which is a little bit better. Kind of understand why they're so apprehensive to make it a fast workstation, because it isn't the most expensive thing to make, and honey is pretty useful. So I can see that, but I do think it's going to be kind of underwhelming for people who didn't read the patch notes who make a new apiary and are like, wow, it took 2 hours to make 1 honey. This was so worth my time. But it will genuinely be worth your time in the long run, so I'm okay with it, but it's kind of underwhelming. But there's new recipes, which I really like. Along with the apiary workstation that produces honey, we've added some new honey-centric recipes to the game that offer some honey healing benefits, including honey tea, which not only hydrates, it cures infection, so that's nice. We have honey glazed sham, which is your new favorite meat substitute, just got better. So a buff to sham that might cure infection. They don't explicitly say it, so it might not, but that's something. And honey brisket, the ultimate survivor food, offers a whopping 150 points and heals your infections. So honey is officially the currency for making the single best food item in the game, and there's kind of like now going to be a universally this is the best food item in the game. There's already some contenders, but this seems like it's going to be the best at 150 food points. Next, we have the third-person camera. Full third-person camera support has been added to the game. You can now seamlessly toggle between first and third-person views during gameplay using a quick toggle keybind. This highly requested feature provides a new perspective on your character and surroundings, especially useful for appreciating your gear customization, skin, navigating complex terrain, and experiencing combat from a different viewpoint. A number of different settings have been added to customize the third-person camera, which can be found in your display settings. Default camera mode. Choose if you prefer to start the game in first or third person. You can also toggle this in-game at any time, unless the server you're playing has restricted to a specific camera mode. That's really good, because PvP players were really worried about people being able to abuse third person. Now your PvP server host will just set it to first or third, and that's it. You can only use that, and that's really smart from the Fun Pimps, because it could have been a disaster for the already very small PvP community in this game. Third person field of view, separated from the first person FOV slider, that makes sense. You've got camera distance and camera mode. Choose whether you want a freely orbiting camera or one that's locked behind the character. A third option will only lock the camera while holding a ranged weapon. That's a good one. I'm probably going to go with the third option myself. I will definitely be playing in third person just for the variety of it. I don't know if I'll permanently play with it, but I'm perfectly happy to see third person added to the game. If it's implemented well, if the hit registration on the guns and the melee weapons are good, then that's completely fine, and I'll give it a shot. I like third person games, perfectly fine. I like State of Decay, I like Valheim, perfectly happy to play this game in third person and give it a shot. A game setting and server config has been added to allow hosts to restrict the camera mode for all players in the game. This can be found in the advanced tab of the game setting. By default, all players are allowed to change their camera mode freely, but this can be changed to force, first or third person. Cool. There's also keybind changes and improvements. There is a quick actions menu. Hold this button to bring up a radial menu of various actions, including changing the camera perspective, dropping your weapon, as well as a place to access all of your toggleable items, equipment, and attachments. You can also choose the default behavior of tapping this button, changing the camera mode, or toggling your first attachment. Isn't this already in the game? Isn't this not just what the F button is? Additionally, holding this button allows you to swap third person camera distance or zoom it right in to switch back to first person. Interesting. I feel like we have this, but whatever. Maybe they've allowed you to have a keybind for it is what they mean. And they have a swap camera side and scope zoom level. We've had some gamepad and console changes and improvements. Additional bindings for the individual tool belt slots and menu shortcuts have been added. These are left unbound by default, but are there should you want to use them in your custom controller layout. You can find them in the tool belt and menus tab of the controller settings window. And the zoom in, zoom out bindings have been removed in favor of camera swap side scope zoom level action. This cuts down the number of inputs scope zooming takes on a controller. So you can't do micro adjustments to your scope on controller anymore, I guess. I don't know how many people were using that anyway. And also, remember that they've changed all the default bindings, so you'll have to rebind anything you've changed to your controller in 2.5. For ammo improvements, turrets have been significantly enhanced for more flexible base defense, universal ammo compatibility. Turrets now accept all ammunition tiers, giving you more flexibility in managing defenses. Use standard ammo for regular threats and save premium ammo for horde knights. Advanced entity piercing mechanics for high tier ammunition are currently in progress and will be refined in upcoming updates. Okay, so you can't do armor piercing target penetration with turrets yet. Fair enough. Ammo type benefits. Different ammo types now provide distinct advantages. Armor piercing rounds for tough enemies and hollow point rounds for standard zombies and more. So I have a question. Hollow point rounds aren't in the game, and they haven't been in the game since like 1.0. Are you adding them back? Because your HP rounds are actually called high power now, Fun Pimps, if you didn't know that. I'm obviously going to be putting breaching slugs in my shotgun turret, and I'm going to use those to do something. I don't know. So we've got some quest improvements as well. They've improved the quest system, improving which traders are selected in the world and the criteria for how their quest lists are selected. The starter quest and opening trader routes will now only direct players to traders that have the highest number of nearby quest locations by them or near cities. Okay, so that's what they meant by that. And what they meant by that is instead of sending you to the closest trader, it will send you to the trader with the highest number of quest locations near them. That's interesting. I don't know how I feel about that one. That'll be interesting because like one of the worst things of 7 Days to Die before they implemented the newest version of the starter quest and stuff was it would kind of send you a very long distance to get to the trader. Sounds like that might be a new problem again if they're sending you to the best trader rather than to the closest trader, but it might end up being the same either way really. Anyway, the traders will now show up to 7 quests in each tier and will offer them in a new algorithm that picks 3 near distance, 3 medium distance and 1 far distance, giving more variety to the quest offerings and improving the odds for higher tier quest offerings. No fun, pimps. What you've done is implemented a system where you have a 4 quest limit by default in your game, and you've made 3 of them near and 1 far away to decrease the chances again of players getting quest progression every day. I see through your lies. But this is probably good anyway because now you just have more quests available to you regardless. But I see this. I see what you're doing. You can't fool me, fun pimps. A new character window rendering. We've added a new rendering system to the in-game character windows. The characters are now rendered in perspective camera view with 4-point lighting and a rotatable character. You mean the thing they have in Blood Moons. And we have new cosmetic skins. Free original survivors pack. A free cosmetic content pack featuring the original male and female 7 Days survivors. Note, you will be able to browse in-game DLC and redeem it once 2.5 is stable. And a free Santa hat you can find in loot during the holidays. I don't know what the original survivors pack means. Who are the original male and survivors? Oh wait, I know who that is. Hang on. I know who they mean. Here's who they mean. The original survivors that you could play as between male and females. So you had this guy here with the original jacket and the plaid top and the jeans. This is very much the lumberjack outfit though. Like that's all it is. So I don't know how they're going to implement that, but whatever. And you had the female character model who had, what is this, like denim? I'm guessing this is denim or it's like a police shirt or something with the torn top and jeans and a belt. I imagine this is what they meant by the original survivor, male and female, from like way back in 2013. That's cool, especially since it's free. So like it's just a throwback to the old game. I might be wrong though. It could just not be that, to be fair. And they've also added a new Trader Gen model coming to your Apocalypse. Note that this may come in a bug fix patch after 2.5 stable, so it might not actually be in 2.5. They're kind of just announcing it. I suspect it's going to be this. It's going to be very similar to what we already have, just with like less weird skin tones and less of a plasticky face. Could be something completely different though. Maybe this is just to throw us off the scent of the new like power armored Trader Gen. I don't know. But yeah, that's the new features coming in 2.5. It's coming quote unquote soon and it's going to come stable. So that means consoles, you'll get it before the holidays. So that's good. Console, you'll be waiting for the stable update to get this at all. On PC, we'll probably get it a couple of weeks before that. So if we assume it'll come out at the latest on like Christmas Eve, on console, it'll probably be like the next week it's going to come out on PC experimental. So yeah, that'll be fun. Most of these changes, I'd say 95% of this I'm happy with, especially for a non-major update. That's a lot of content in it. I do worry it's going to make 3.0 pretty shallow though, but we'll see. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this update, and if you would like to see some more 7 Days to Die content, click the video on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.